There are moments in life when we look around and wonder why some people rise above their struggles while others seem to stay stuck in a cycle of excuses, regret, and hesitation. Why Self-Discipline Builds Fortune is not merely a book about wealth, it is a guide to understanding how inner mastery shapes every form of external success. It gently peels back the layers of illusion that tell us fortune is born of luck or privilege, revealing instead that it is forged in the quiet moments of self-control, consistency, and faith in one's higher purpose. The book begins by redefining what fortune truly means. The author explains that fortune is not just the accumulation of money or possessions, but the power to design your life consciously. Fortune is peace of mind built through discipline. It is the freedom that arises when your actions align with your deepest values. Without discipline, even abundance becomes chaos. With discipline, even scarcity becomes a stepping stone toward growth. Through captivating real-life examples and gentle spiritual insights, the author paints a clear truth: self-discipline is the bridge between potential and prosperity. Talent without discipline fades into mediocrity, while ordinary people with discipline rise to extraordinary heights. The book recalls stories of artists who mastered their craft through daily effort, entrepreneurs who built empires brick by brick, and individuals who transformed their entire existence simply by mastering themselves before seeking to master the world. One striking message that echoes throughout the book is that discipline is not punishment, it is liberation. Many associate discipline with deprivation or restriction, but in truth, discipline is the ability to say no to what weakens you and yes to what strengthens you. It is not the chain that binds you, it is the key that sets you free. The author gives the example of a man who wakes before dawn every morning to work on his goals. To outsiders, his life may seem rigid, but he feels deep peace in knowing he governs his own time. That quiet satisfaction, of living intentionally, is fortune in its purest form. The book delves deeply into the emotional and spiritual side of self-discipline. It tells us that discipline is an act of self-love, not self-denial. When you commit to discipline, you are telling yourself, I deserve better than the comfort of excuses. Every act of discipline is a declaration of worthiness. You rise early not because it's easy, but because you believe your dreams deserve your energy. You save money not out of fear, but because you respect your future. You practice patience not to impress others, but to master your own peace. In these subtle acts of inner strength, fortune quietly takes root. Throughout the chapters, the author connects self-discipline to universal laws. Every effort we make, every sacrifice we choose, sets a cause in motion, and the universe, unfailingly fair, returns the energy we invest. Those who practice discipline may not see results immediately, but time always reveals the fruits of their labor. The book compares discipline to planting a tree. For months, the soil looks still, the seed unseen. Yet beneath the surface, roots are growing, preparing for the day the seedling will break through. The same is true for our habits. The quiet repetitions, the silent endurance, these are the roots of fortune. Another profound idea explored is that self-discipline gives life direction. Without discipline, desires scatter in all directions like leaves in the wind. But with discipline, those desires become focused, transformed into intention, then into results. The author writes that people often fail not because they lack opportunity, but because they lack consistency. The universe rewards not those who wish, but those who persist. A moving story in the book tells of a young woman who dreamed of writing her own novel. For years, she made excuses. No time, no inspiration, no guarantee of success. One day she committed to writing just one page a day. Slowly, one page became a chapter, and months later, her book was complete. What she discovered wasn't just creative success, it was self-trust. Discipline had built not only her book, but her belief in her own capability. That belief, the author reminds us, is the foundation of all fortune. The book also reveals that discipline requires compassion. True self-discipline is not about perfection but perseverance. It's about forgiving yourself when you stumble, and then standing up again with renewed intention. Many people quit because they equate failure with finality, but the disciplined soul sees failure as feedback. Each setback becomes a teacher, each delay a moment of refinement. The author calls this graceful discipline, the ability to hold yourself accountable without self-condemnation. At its spiritual core, Why Self-Discipline Builds Fortune teaches that the universe mirrors your inner order. When you bring harmony to your habits, clarity to your thoughts, and direction to your actions, life responds with opportunity. The author compares life to a river. If your mind is turbulent, you resist its flow, but if you practice discipline, your inner waters become calm, allowing the current of destiny to carry you forward with grace. Fortune flows naturally to those who are ready to handle it responsibly. A recurring lesson in the book is that discipline is not about control over the external world, but over the inner world, the mind, the emotions, the impulses that pull us away from our highest path. The truly wealthy, the author explains, are those who have mastered their moods. They do not chase motivation, they build habits. They do not depend on external validation, they draw strength from inner alignment. In this sense, discipline becomes a form of spiritual maturity, the realization that you are the sculptor of your destiny, not its victim. The book uses a powerful metaphor. Discipline is the compass, and desire is the wind. Desire propels you forward, but without discipline, you drift aimlessly. With discipline, your journey gains direction. Every morning you wake with purpose, every night you sleep with peace, knowing you have moved closer to your vision. In later chapters, the author discusses how self-discipline naturally attracts wealth, relationships, and respect, not because of greed or manipulation, but because discipline makes you reliable. The world trusts those who can trust themselves. Employers, partners, and even friends are drawn to people who keep their word and show up fully. This reliability becomes a silent currency, opening doors that talent alone cannot. A particularly touching story is told about an elderly man who spent years saving small amounts of money to build a school in his village. He lived simply, worked diligently, and gave without expectation. When he finally opened the school, he said, "Discipline is wealth. Because of it, I gave my community what no amount of comfort could have bought me, legacy." His story reminds us that fortune is not measured in possessions but in contribution. In the final pages, the author ties discipline to peace. The ultimate fortune, he says, is not luxury, but tranquility, the serenity that comes from knowing you have done your best, lived with intention, and honored your purpose. When you master discipline, you no longer chase success anxiously, you attract it naturally. You stop competing with others and begin collaborating with life itself. The closing message is both humbling and empowering. Discipline does not demand perfection, only devotion. It asks you to keep walking when the road gets steep, to keep believing when results are unseen, to keep refining when others settle. Fortune, then, becomes not an accident, but the inevitable harvest of consistent action rooted in faith. And so, why self-discipline builds fortune becomes more than a book, it becomes a mirror. It shows you the version of yourself that is patient, powerful, and purposeful. It reminds you that within you lies the greatest form of wealth, the ability to govern your own thoughts, actions, and destiny.